We are recording today.
Yeah, sorry.
Yay.
That's okay with everybody. So that if you have family members who don't get to attend but really would like to, I know Joy Poor was particularly wondering if we would be recording it. She really hated to miss today. And we have several new people from the Robert Woodson line, the Tater Hoe versus the Washpots. We'll have to maybe make this a competition and see if that won't bring more in. But as of now, I believe we have about 4, maybe 5 of Robert's line on here today, which is the first time ever in my memory. So, Pat, if you want to, I'm Sharon Miller. Those of you who can see me, I've met most of you. I'm glad to meet the rest of you. And Pat is my cousin, first cousin. Our mothers were sisters, and Paige is Pat's one of Pat's brother's daughter. So we're sort of in one little niche there, and we've got a nice mix from other families. And Pat, did you want to say anything?
No, I just wanted to welcome everybody too, and I'm so happy that all the Robert line is joining us also now, and we can certainly extend this out more next year if we possibly can. But now what we want to do is to turn this over to Paige, who's going to give us the end of a video that Marvin Woodson Sr. and Jr. made, and we saw the first part of it last year. It is just an incredible treasure, and Paige has been good enough to sort of put this together so that it's easy for us to watch. And then the second thing is, it's next year, 2025 will be the anniversary of our country. And so Paige is looking at the Woodsons during the Revolutionary War. And so this year and next year and the following year, when we should be looking for any of our relatives, Woodsons, who were in the Revolutionary War that Paige is going to miss today. Because Paige, I'm sure that you don't have. And so we're looking for that. But at any rate, Paige, we're so happy and grateful that you're doing this. So why don't you go ahead and start?
Well, sure. I think we have one additional person. Steve, would you like to introduce your, is this your son here?
This is Jacob.
Hi, Jacob.
White, my son.
Welcome. Glad you're here.
And of course, we're both Robert Tater Hole Woodsons.
There you go. All right. They keep multiplying. Excellent. And I see my cousin Alan as well. So glad to see you. Glad to see you guys. All right. So last year, I don't know if you have seen the recording. I can't remember if I sent the YouTube link out. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to, after this, I will email you the recording of the 2022 and this one, the 2023 link, so that you can see the video that I'm about to show you. We showed the first half of it because it's about, I don't know, 50 minutes. I mean, it's a good long trek into this Floral Hill. And we decided to cut it in half because it just takes so much time, but feel free to go ahead. I'll send you the link to that as well. So if you want to watch it all at one time, you are certainly welcome to do that. But I am going to share this and then we're going to jump into, like Pat said, I've done some research on our Revolutionary Woodsons, and I know there's a lot of other family members in the Revolutionary War. Obviously, how could there not be, right? But we dove straight into the Woodson side of it, and I'm going to look to all of you to tell me if you recognize some of these names, because I couldn't find some of these in the tree, and they were pretty high up there in the rank and all that kind of thing. So it's going to be an adventure for all of us. How's that sound? All right, so let's go ahead and jump. Pat, did you have something?
Yeah, for the new people, we need to explain what Floral Hill is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were going to do that. I thought you were going to do that.
Okay, well, Floral Hill was built in 1836. It was a home built by Azariah Woodson, who was Tucker Woodson's son.
Yeah.
Tucker? Okay.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Tucker. Okay. And Marvin and Senior and Junior, Marvin Senior, Woodson Senior and Junior decided to take a roundabout tour of Floral Hill. And they had it on VHS this whole time. And then, of course, I got a hold of it and like, digital. So I went and converted it, and I uploaded it to YouTube. And so we can now all see this. And it is an amazing, amazing trip through history of just all of the treasures that have been saved and protected and preserved in this home. And the video of this from 1987 or 97, I can't remember when it was, 97. Unfortunately, I think now all of those treasures have been removed from the home and put somewhere else, right?
Yeah, the treasures have been removed and the house is no longer there. The treasures belong to the family. They were distributed among all the children.
Mm-hmm. So isn't it wonderful that they've taken the time to do this for us so that it was all at one time, and they walk around and explain it. And I would just encourage all of you, like I do every time, do this with your own family members. Anytime you can get their story from them, record it, because you will treasure it forever. So, all right, I think I can go ahead and share. Are we ready? Ready or not? Here we go. Let's see if this comes up. All right, so this is the beginning of it. I'll just show the first part of it, and then we'll skip towards the last that we haven't seen yet.
So start out by telling us about the cemetery plot.
Well, in 1877, Uncle William and Azariah settled Mary Woodson's estate, and they reserved 1 acre for the cemetery. But it didn't give the measurements and the locations of the readings. It said most conveniently for the cemetery. So it didn't sound too good. Might not have been legal since it didn't give the reading. So in 1922, it was Azariah Woodson's estate was being settled, and they surveyed it out and cut the lot out for the cemetery and gave the reading on this particular plat. Now this lot where the cemetery is belongs to the entire Woodson generation and their kin. It doesn't belong to me, and it's shown on the map, see, on the plat right here. And it gives the reading right here of the lot for the cemetery. So it belongs to everybody, the family that is.
Well, who all is buried in the cemetery?
Since it's just field stones, we don't know. We know Murray Woodson's buried there, and we know Azariah Woodson. Murray Woodson and Tucker Woodson is buried there. But the other graves, there's 1 or 2 marked, but I can't remember who they are.
All right, now whose grave was recently marked down there?
There's a special slab put down for Tucker Woodson, and it listed where he came from, the state of Virginia. And also it listed him and his wife and his children. It's all on that slab, laid flat on the top of the grave.
And how long has that been there?
Last 2 or 3 years, something like that. W.E. Woodson had it made and brought down here and had it put on.
And that's one of the last things W.E. did. He had just had surgery on that leg, and we had a hard time getting him down there and back, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well, tell us about the organ over here.
Well, Azariah
Okay,
Woodson
so I
was
think
a
I'll
very
go ahead.
gospel singer.
This is a picture of Azariah over the.
And it's his organ and also his songbooks. The songbooks, a bunch of his songs.
And you can take a look at all these wonderful treasures when you have a chance to look at the video that I'll send out. And they go through all of the treasures in the home. And that's Azariah. That was the picture on the wall. And I have that in ancestry.com, which I will show you in just a minute. So you'll see that in a little bit better, better close up. I do, since we do have a few newcomers, let's listen to the Woodson explanation of the history of the Woodsons from 1619, just real quick.
And Sarah Woodson came to Jamestown. They certainly weren't the first to come to Jamestown. I believe it's 1607.
1607 was the beginning, and the first winter, about half of the little settlement died. They didn't have a doctor. If disease hit them, it just spread, and they didn't have a doctor or anything of that sort. And finally, the British government sent a doctor over here, Dr. John Woodson. He is a graduate from St. John's at Oxford, listed as a surgeon and a medical doctor. And he got here, he came 12 years later, 1619. They set sail in England the last of January of 1619 and didn't arrive here till, I believe, about the 1st of April. 2-3 months. And must have been some slow winds that winter.
Must have been. So now Dr. John had 2 sons.
Yeah.
And
John and Robert.
John and Robert. And I
And he
believe
married, Dr. John married Sarah Winston, and Winston is a very prominent name in England.
And I believe Dr. John was away, probably on house calls when the Indians attacked.
In 1644, I believe it was. And there's a fellow Lincoln was a shoemaker in the little colony, made shoes. Made shoes then, didn't have shoe factories. He came by to measure the family's feet to make up some shoes. And the Indians suddenly attacked, and so they barred the door. And finally found the Indians that Sarah heard them scrambling down the window, down the chimney. And she had on a big pot of boiling water. So she got the big pot of boiling water, and as the first one ducked out blood of the chimney, she poured that pot of boiling water on him. Well, that put him out of business right quick. A little bit, she heard another scrambling. And she took the big old poker, they called it a spit of that day, S-P-I-T. And she, just as he ducked down to come out of the fireplace, she brained him with that spit. That killed him. And the Lincoln, he shot about 7, I think he used the old Woodson gun rifle with about an 8-foot barrel. And through a crack, he was shooting Indians out in the yard. And he killed about, I'm thinking it was somewhere around 7. And he, so the Indians fled that place. They decided they was losing too many men there. And, but they had already killed Dr. John as he came in on horseback. They threw a spear in his back and killed him. They caught him by surprise.
Now how did Sarah save the 2 boys?
She hid one under a tub.
Wash pot?
Yeah, an old big pot, and she hid the other one. She lifted up a wide board in the floor, and they had a dugout where they kept the potatoes stored. Put them underground that way to keep from freezing in the winter months. And she picked that big wide board up, and she dropped one of the little boys down in the potato hill. Dropped the plate back down in there. So after that, the 2 little old boys, one of them was known as the Potato Hole Woodson family, and the other was the Tub Woodson family.
It's John and Robert now. Which one did we come from?
John.
And was he potato or the wash pot?
I think he's Potato Hole, I'm not sure.
Okay. Now the old gun.
And he had a son named John II. Well, John II, that was John II. Then they had a son named John III.
All right,
then
that's,
the Joseph, then the Tucker, Murray, Azariah, Henry, Marvin, and Marvin Jr.
okay. So I believe I'm the 10th generation from.
You're the 10th, I'm the 9th.
You're the 9th. So Tucker came here, and February the 4th, I believe it was.
I think it's the 4th, that's the deed over there
1795.
showing the date. I don't know what date he got here, but that's when he acquired the land.
Well, let's see the deed over here.
All right. Isn't that interesting? I just love it when you hear the story over and over again. All right. So they go through some treasures and
That's my line.
yeah.
Yeah.
And let's see how far we got here. This is interesting. That's, if you have a chance, the talking machine that they called it. It's one of the first, I guess, megaphone, however you want to call it. You do the record on it.
Yeah.
And then they go outside. So we're going to go outside with them.
They also had an old Edison lamp there because I went in that house. He took me in that house. I had went down there to see him before he passed away. And he took me in that house and I got to see everything. And they had the old Edison lamp, one of the original ones. It was like number 17 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
That's really cool. All right. I got to take a minute. For some reason, the other video didn't come up.
We're in contact with a number of the descendants of
Robert.
no, the shooter.
Oh, Ligon.
Ligon. They laugh at the shoemaker thing. He was the governor's cousin. He sort of he was like the head of the militia. He was a captain, and he was really running Flowerdew. This whole we don't know where. I know it's in the Woodson book, and it's also in a book called "Women of the Medicine." That said that he was a shoemaker or a wood salesman. They laugh at that.
Oh, really?
He was Governor Yeardley's cousin?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Maybe one of the other earlier ones. I'm not sure if Yardley's cousin, but
Well, Yeardley was the one when the Woodsons came over. So,
Right, but
because they came over on the same ship together.
yeah, but this is much later. This
Later.
is 20
Oh,
years
okay.
later. So Yardley's dead. He died,
Yeah.
early in 20s.
Yeah.
But they find that a hoot. The whole reference of the
Some of them call it the Ligon gun.
It's actually a Fowler rifle.
Margaret held the gun before it was put on display at the.
Yep.
The shipboard experience on the George. The reason that was so long was that they were sailing against the Gulf Stream. So trips across from England to Virginia were always 10 times as long as the return trip. The trip back to England was pretty quick from what I understand, but not so the other way around.
Thank you.
So is the house still there that we're viewing, or is that gone now?
It's gone.
Unfortunately. Let's take a look at the back of the house and the other part of the house that we didn't see last time. We have another, I think, 10 minutes of the film. So if you guys can hang with us.
So that's that. Well, let's see. I don't know whether this is right or wrong. Somebody else wants to show it. That goes for sale and put on sale and Marvin bought it, that's what. They tried to knock him out of getting it, but he got it just the same. Hi, gal.
We're gonna buy a van along with the bus. It needs
You want to rest a little before
No,
we do that
they
other
said they want to
down
run. What's Dale running anyway?
there? Doing a videotape.
Got a video. Y'all excuse me. I had an old hearing aid that worked a little bit last night. Second quit. I don't know what it was.
We'll all talk loud enough for you. When I do it
So I
on
just have to
Woodson,
guess at what's going on today.
my daddy said he got
Have you been in the house?
Let's get this done.
Let's run down here and finish this up.
He's running a, when I've been through the house, he's running a video of this whole works.
I'll open it back up in just a minute. Right. I just wanted to get this. Okay, you close enough to hear, Dale?
I'm moving in.
They tell me about the Azariah store. I understand this was the store building?
Well, he closed out the store about 1915 when I was just a little tyke. I barely remember it. And closed it out because he got too old to run it. See, he's getting on towards 80 years old at that time. And of course, a country store back in that day didn't operate full time. Little kid come to the store on a mule with 15 to 20 cents. You'd have to ring the bell. And here's the story about this. You'd ring the bell and he'd hear it from the house. And the story about the plow, which acts as a bell, it was Azariah Woodson went to Williamson about 1850 and had the plow made, and his daddy told him to go over there and have a 14-inch plow made. And the 14-year-old boy got his inches and feet mixed up, and he went on to the blacksmith shop and told him that his daddy wanted a 14-foot plow. Well, the blacksmith said he didn't make no 15-foot plow. It had nothing to make it with. What are you going to do with it to start with? Besides, you couldn't carry it home on a mule. Said, you sure it's not a 14-inch plow the man wants? And they showed him a 14-inch plow, and they decided that was what it was. And so this plow was made in Williamson about 1850. But a boy rode a mule over there to get it fixed. And so when it got old, Grandpa got old, he put it inside of his store building, so if you wanted service from the store, you'd ring the bell. Bang on the plow, wait till you see?
I did.
That's a homemade plow made in Williamson about 1850.
Now did he put this on here?
He painted, Azariah had that painted on there when I was a kid now, but I think somebody touched it up since. Azariah Woodson. Azariah's a Bible name. That's taken from the Bible. That's where they used to bring. That's where they wants to name the kids, because that's what the only book they had, the Bible.
Now there's
When a new baby come along, you looked in the Bible and named the little rascal. See?
There's a couple of things in here I think the people bought their kerosene. And why don't you show?
That plants corn by hand. You put the corn in that little hopper there, and you walk along in the plowed ground, and you put that down in the ground, and you lean it back like that, and it drops a grain of corn in that hole. Planting corn.
Mm-hmm.
Planting corn by hand. That's a corn planter used in the early days. That's where you bought your nickel's worth of kerosene, burning your lamp. You pumped it with this. brought the little jar, jug or whatever they had to the store and buy kerosene. That little bicycle won the trick riding contest in the 1890s at the Fairview Stock Show. That won the trick riding contest at the Fairview Stock Show in the 1890s. Uncle High Cooley's the one who won the trick riding. It's junk now, but he had that as a young boy. Do all kind of trick riding on that bicycle. There's a collection of all kinds of tools in here. Everything from a can of axle grease, what you grease the wagon with. How does that look? Antique tools. You bored the holes with that. Sure, that's where you bored the larger holes.
Awesome.
There's a can of special axle grease that you grease the wagon with. Grease the wagon with that axle grease.
Oh.
It says light diamond axle grease, 1 pound. Don't have wagons anymore. That's Granddaddy's life.
Goes down into a stump or something to hold it up and operates as a vise.
There's spring wagon seats in here. There's an old shop forge and a bellows. The old hand cradle that you cut grain by hand and raked it up with a handful. The place is filled up with junk. Did you know about a man come in the shop out there the other day when I was there? You want to hear this? He saw an old thermometer on the wall, so I got $20 for it.
Come in, Dale. Let's see if we can just get. This is a cradle. This is a bellows. No, this is the bellows.
You cut the grain and held it. One person go behind and tied it.
What's this called, Daddy?
That's a shop forge.
Shop forge.
Plows.
And that's the bellows over there. There's another cradle there. All kinds of plows, plow stocks. There's a windlass and a well box back there. Here's a horse collar. Here's an old blowtorch. Other antique wrenches. Here's a set of ice tongs.
See if you can see the
wooden kegs that nails used to come in.
See if you can find an iron
Flour barrel.
See if you can find an iron collar on the wall over there somewhere. An iron might be one of that old coat. If that was, it was used in the fire department.
Oh. Wow.
Maybe somebody done bought it. I thought I had one.
You see fighter coat.
See that iron metal horse collar?
Yes.
That was used in the early fire department when they had horses to pull the fire truck. That iron collar.
I got it, Daddy. It's all
Did you get
right.
it from there?
She's got it.
That was used in the fire department. The horses was ready hitched, all you done is snap the collar together and holler growing. Go for it.
Goes that far.
That split the boards from putting boards on the house.
What is this?
That wringed the clothes out. A hand wringer to wash when you wash your clothes.
This is an old wooden plane.
Somebody else's. There's a mallet there where you split the boards. Where's the mallet?
There it is.
That's where you split boards to make shingles of the early homes. Split boards from that to make shingles, wood shingles.
This is a corn sheller.
Corn sheller. You saw them up to see it in the woods and bring them up, and then you split them up and make your own boards.
Some mole trap.
That catches moles. Put that over where the mole's been in the ground, and he goes along and he trips it and catches it. It snags him.
Well, this is a pea sheller over here.
That's a pea thrasher. You thrash peas in the early days, and you didn't have an engine. You had to turn the crank by hand to thrash the peas that you picked. Got a crank on it. See the crank? Who could you hire now to turn that thing? Thrash.
Isn't that amazing? I just love seeing that. Steve, I bet you Jacob's never even seen a wagon in person.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
he has. Yes.
you've done
Oh, yeah.
well.
Did anybody have any questions?
So what happened to the house? Did it get destroyed, or did somebody sold it and rebuilt it newer? Or?
The son who inherited it, the oldest son, since it would cost too much, or the family couldn't afford to keep the house after they divided the contents, and the oldest son who inherited that piece of the property, they took it down and built a new house there. And he's since deceased. Is that what you remember, Pat or Vivian, any of the others?
The new house is built. The new house is built where the trailer was that Marvin lived in, that Marvin Jr. lived in. There's nothing where the old house actually stood, but Marvin Sr.'s original house is still down there. It's still on the property, and the new house is built up back where Marvin Jr. used to have a single wide or a double wide there. But back in through the woods, if you go all the way down toward the creek or the river, is where the old Woodson Cemetery is. And it's hard to get down in there because it's all grown up and it has fences around it and stuff. If you get lucky and get in touch with William, you can sometimes get him to meet you over there, and he'll have someone to walk you down through there, and you can still see the tombstones, the headstones and everything for Murray, Azariah, and my great grandfather Amaziah, which was Marvin's father, Marvin Jr.'s father's brother. Yeah. So you can it's hard to get in touch with them sometimes, but if you could, those tombstones are something to see those dates on them. It just makes it real the first time I saw it, I felt like then I knew I was related because that was my family, because Emma's our daughter, Jessie, was my grandmother. And she's the one who married the James, who is related to both the James family, which was on the southern side of the James River in Virginia. And then her parents were the Woodsons, who were on the northern side of the James River for a while. And then they also have the line that he's married to his cousin, the Jameses. So his father, his first cousin was Jesse James, the outlaw. Oh God,
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was crazy. That's why I'm related to the James on both the James side and the Woodson side.
Mhm.
So
Double James.
yeah, I'm a double James, double James. One Woodson. But yeah, I was one of the lucky ones that got to go tour the house, and Marvin Jr. actually was the one who took me through the house. I did take some pictures. I've got them somewhere, some actual Polaroids that I took of everything that I could see. And then when I was going to take my mother down there, because she hadn't seen Marvin Jr. since they were little kids. And so I was going to take her down there. And by the time we were able to go, he had already passed away. So we met his son, William, out there, and she got to go into the house. And so that was, the first and only time she got to see it since she was a small child, because she couldn't remember, because she was in an orphanage because my grandmother died of the tuberculosis just like her father and mother did. Emma's his wife. And so, which went around the 1900s, the early 100. So they were, grandmother was in an orphanage, and so was her mother, as children, because of that. So it's kind of weird, but she finally got to see it, and she said that was the highlight of her life, getting to see that.
Oh, that's
So
wonderful.
other than having us kids, so but she remembered some of the things, but not all of them. So cool.
I just love that we've recorded this, we have recorded history of this, to pass on.
I also have a DVD that I think William had made of old photographs and stuff of their line, Marvin Jr.'s line, and it has some stuff in there that's pretty interesting. And if I can find that DVD, I could make some copies for people if they want some.
That would be really great. And you do have my email.
Yes.
So if you have anything that you want to email to me, I can always distribute it to everyone else as well. And if we need to do it online and make it a link that anybody can access easily, I can do that as well.
Okay. I have a lot of photographs that Emazar had great grandfather, that was Azariah's oldest son. I think Emazar was his oldest son. There's pictures of their sister, like Savannah Woodson and all of them, that a lot of people don't have, and I have copies of those. So
okay,
I
have the tree for Azariah I'm about to show, so we can show those names, and if you would like to see. And I have this picture of his headstone, I believe.
Okay, I have a picture of him when he was young with all of his kids down on the riverbank down below there, where that house was, where they owned out to the middle of what they called the Saluda River then, which is actually the Reedy River now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very
the Reedy
cool.
and Saluda and all that connects to make Lake Greenwood and stuff. So it's pretty interesting.
I'd love to see that. I'm sure everybody would love to see that.
Yeah, I'll see if I can't get all of those together and put them on in a program to where you just open them up individually. Because when you make slides, it's hard to cut out separate photos. So instead of sending slides, I just like to send the whole photo.
Okay.
They're much easier to small down now that they're JPEG and MPEG and stuff like that. So I'll take care of that. Might take me a couple of weeks, but I can get it all together.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing
You're welcome.
your own experience with that, walking through and seeing all of that. Did you go back in where the shed was and to see all the tools too?
Yes. But the more exciting part was the upstairs. It was spooky. Oh. And some of my pictures have halos in them and all. And I felt they were like people that were still there. Because it was weird, because when you take certain areas like the bed that's in the very front room is where my great grandfather Amaziah died, and where he,
Mhm.
was spitting up, coughing up the blood and all. And they've got a picture of my great grandmother's shoes sitting there with the high heels and the flaps and stuff. It's kind of cool.
Oh,
And
that's
I took a picture of that bed, and right over that bed is like a aura. It's kind of weird. I was like,
oh,
okay, I'm
wow.
not sure which one that is. And
All
then
right.
inside the house, they had pictures of Azariah as a young man when he was in the Civil War, and
Mhm.
pictures of Murray. There was
Mhm.
some pretty decent pictures of Murray in there too. So I
Mhm.
took photographs of that. I took a photograph of an old genealogy chart they had on the wall.
Oh,
And it was
nice.
kind of cool. It didn't come out that well because cameras back then weren't that great, a little
Mhm.
Polaroids, but I have the proof of it that they documented their history in that house. So that was pretty good.
That's
And
awesome.
there's a lot of people who don't understand that Tucker and Tucker were actually father and son, and then there were other Tuckers on the other lines too.
Yes.
So Tucker
Very confusing.
Senior was never, Tucker Jr. was never called Tucker Jr. He was just called Tucker because by the time he became a grown man, his father had already died. So,
Mm.
and it's kind of cool how they did stuff like that, but it also gets very frustrating when you're doing genealogy, try to figure out who's who.
Which
And then
Tucker?
some of the older ones married their nieces again. That's kind of weird, or their sister-in-laws, or their brother's wife after their brother got killed in the Civil War.
Sure.
So I ran into a lot of that. I was like pulling my hair out trying to figure out how was this one married to this one when it said this one was married to this one. And I found out later that's what happened in a lot of them. Because when you go back and check the Civil War documents or the Confederate where they were signing up for their money later on in the early 1900s, the pension. Though this widow would have 2 pensions she could sign up for. One was the current husband. So it's kind of weird, but I found that.
I've got some photos of that as well that I found that I'm going to share today, hopefully, that you guys haven't seen yet too. So it's
I'll try to
fascinating.
get those older ones together and put them in the same paper document package.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Anybody have any other questions about the house before we move on to soldiers? All right. So let's go ahead and jump in. I am going to share with you, since we are talking about Azariah, I am a big proponent, as you all may know by now, that Ancestry.com, the
Amen.
tree. Yeah. It's been great. And just so you know, I know Penny's not on today, but I have Penny's tree in here as well. She gave me, here it is. She gave me her tree on a disc, and I've uploaded it here for all posterity. So I go back and forth because it can be very confusing, about all of these lines when I'm trying to clean up my own line. And I just wanted to you all to see what I had pulled on Azariah. So, if you haven't been into Ancestry, it does a timeline on their life story. These are the facts. This is the gallery, and then it has some hints. Now, hints can be other people's lines that they've done their work on, that you can go in and click on it, and then it automatically will add to your tree so that you're not having to type it in and find the birth dates and that type of thing. The downside of that is not always verified. So you have a lot of cleaning up to do. And I'm going to show you some things today that probably will need some cleaning up, but I'm just glad to have something in there at this point. But this is Azariah. He was born 1836, and he's the one who built the house we just saw. He died in 1921 in Greenville. The house itself was in Pelzer, and somebody help me. How far is Pelzer from Greenville? Where is Pelzer?
It's about, I'd say 10 miles southeast.
Okay. All right. And this is the gallery.
Not North Carolina. It's one of these.
So these images were in the home that we just watched. The one that he was in the Civil War. No, was it the Civil War?
Yes.
Yes, the
So-
Civil War. Isn't that great? Look at that with his pistol, that face. He's so determined.
My oldest brother looked just like him at that age.
Did he?
Yeah. I about had a heart attack when I seen that picture in there. I
Mhm,
told my
mhm,
mother, I said, that looks like David.
mhm, mhm.
It
Now-
was cool though.
Is this the cemetery that is back in the woods? Because it looks pretty cleared out here.
That
but-
one's not in the woods. That one's in Pelzer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's Azariah and his wife Mary Davis.
Murray,
Mary
you are.
Mary Davis was his
Her
wife.
name is Mary Elizabeth. Yes.
Mary Elizabeth. Okay, so it's Mary E. Davis. Got it.
Yes.
And I have, this is another picture when he has the beard, looking pretty distinguished there.
Mhm.
And this is a better picture here. This was on the wall in the house. I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was able to capture that.
Yeah.
But we need to definitely get a better picture of that. So it's amazing how they've got these historical pictures here, and then we can upload them into the thing here. So this is the bigger picture of the Azariah Woodson stone. I mean, that's amazing.
Mhm.
It's
They
big.
also had a picture of Murray in there also, his father.
I
but
didn't see that one.
I don't know if it was a tin plate or a hand drawn picture,
Okay.
but
All
it
right.
was of Murray. And I think I have that on one of my photographs.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And his father is Murray, and mother Catherine Elizabeth Davis.
Yes.
Okay. Then his wife was Mary Elizabeth Davis.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that was where the niece thing came in. The first
That was
cousin married his first cousin. Something
I was
like
a
that.
little confused. Okay. And you mentioned Amaziah, who appears to be the fourth son, according
Fourth
to
son. Yeah.
looks like
Well, I
it.
think there were some that I'm not sure how they passed away or
Oh,
whatever.
this was 1864. Yeah, he was obviously not less than a year.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have on down here. And in this, you also have this Civil War records here. I'll show you this real quick if you can see the record real quick. Sometimes they don't actually have documents. It's just in a book somewhere.
I think I have where I went on, and I think I got a copy of the pension papers. So
Okay.
that shows a little bit about how they went their muster roll and all of that.
Okay. All right. Very good. I wanted to start with this one, and I'm going to go straight across here to which is a timeline of everything. But I just kind of pulled some idea of who was doing what in the military. And Aunt Pat knows that I am in the process of writing my own book on soldiers, the Woodson soldiers. And this is from, obviously, you've got the World War II, and you've got the other wars that we're going to tackle as well. Some of them in here from the War of 1812. You've got the earlier.
Well, it's a book on Randolph's.
Yes, it is. And this shows Dr. John Woodson. They just have this whole diatribe here on Dr. John Woodson. And I don't know if you guys, did you see that he came to America in 1620 as a surgeon to a troop of soldiers under the command of Sir John Harvey?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. That's the first time I've heard it connected with the soldiers as a troop. I thought he was just there to I didn't realize he was actually connected to the troops in that way.
That's why he was actually first sent over, was to be the doctor for them.
Just for them. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Originally.
Okay. And then we've got some other
The
ones
way I
here.
had always read it.
Yeah,
That's the way I had always read it.
you read it. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I just haven't looked into it in so long because, you know, he came over on the George and he was the doctor for the whole colony is what I understood. And of course, you know, it obviously expanded once he got there and realized everybody needed his help. So
There were other doctors. Dr. Potts was there already.
The doctor who took care of the governor
Yeah.
was the first.
Right. There were doctors. He was not the first doctor.
he was not the first doctor.
No.
She was the first doctor's
Right.
wife, right?
She was the first doctor's wife. Got it. Okay, got it.
But there
All
was,
right. So,
there was a company of soldiers on the George with
Mhm.
them.
Okay, under this, under Sir John Harvey. Got it. Okay, so it goes on to talk about the Colonel John Woodson, who was a sheriff of Goochland and his involvement here. And then some of the descendants settled in Kentucky. I've got a little bit of information on the Kentucky line as well. And then down into the Civil War. So it's interesting, but I thought this was interesting that they listed the Virginians who have ended up in military and politics here. And all of these that were connected in some way, this Tarleton Woodson, whom I cannot find in my particular line. So if you guys have General Tarleton Woodson somewhere.
If you go to the University of William and Mary's archives, I think there is a whole crap load of information about the Woodson there.
Okay.
And Tarleton is in their line. I seen a book that was like 400 pages of genealogy from the Woodson there.
He's in the Woodson book.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's
He
in that
is,
book.
okay. There's another Tarleton, but I couldn't find one that said he was a general, so I'll have to find him. Good. And then Governor Pleasance, and then several governors along the way, judges, you know, very involved. And then they go into other lines. But I thought that was interesting.
Margaret Tucker Woodson was killed in the Revolution.
My Tucker's, the dates of my Tucker and Tucker were not the same as Pat's Tucker's.
Right.
So,
there were 3 or 4 different Tuckers.
Right. I mean, the issue is in the 1915 book, they intentionally did not want to include Jesse James.
Yeah.
And they went back 5 generations to Elizabeth and said she never married, and she married Shadrach Mims in Goochland. Eliza. And you're not, I think that's why your lines are not in the book. Because they intentionally left out the James line.
Yes.
And there's a book called Descendants of a Bandit or something like that. And the preface says there is many people trying to make connections to Jesse James as there are trying to disprove their connection to Jesse James. Margaret's father went to his grave saying Jesse James was not a Woodson. His middle name, Jesse Woodson James, was because his father was a sharecropper on the Woodson estate, which obviously was, you know, but that's what her father believed.
In Missouri.
In Missouri. So it's like, but unfortunately, your lines are not in, Ezra Cryer is not in the book.
Okay.
Because they went back 5 generations to make it difficult for Jesse James' descendants to prove their link to Woodson.
That's correct.
All right, so we'll have to remedy that, I guess.
Background.
All right.
Back there, bad, yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll take a look at that book too. Okay, this is I wanted to pull. Yet again, here's another Tucker Woodson, of course. So this is this is in my line, of course. So Murray Woodson is my 4th great grandfather. Tucker is my 5th.
But they're
different wife.
But
is a different wife.
This Tucker is Tucker Jr. though.
Tucker Jr. Yes.
Yeah. And his father is Tucker Woodson also. And then Tucker Woodson's father is Joseph.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So this Murray Woodson, as if you're looking at pure soldier activity, he was in the War of 1812, and
correct.
I was able to pull that image as well, which is interesting interesting to see that. So that says the War of 1812, Murray Woodson, and that's the garrison that he was in. And let's see if there's any other information on here. There's Tarleton Woodson. He was an ensign at that point. So this gives a lot of good information on at least who was in the War of 1812. There's a William Woodson. And what I'm doing is I'm capturing these as I can find them in the tree and attach them so that I can go back and put them into the line. Yes.
Oh, Woodward.
Abraham Woodson,
Yeah.
Woodward, Nancy Woodward.
So there's lots of, these are the Woodwards. So it gives you some really good information on, because it's combining a lot of this information between Ancestry.com and what you may or may not know about, which is the fold 3. And, it's the threefold American flag. That's why they call it fold 3. And these are all the military records that you have to subscribe to separately. And I've subscribed to these, and I started did a search. I'll go through this in just a sec. I did a search on Revolutionary War in the United States, and then I put in South Carolina just to see, but pretty much all of the ones in the Revolutionary War that are Woodsons are in South Carolina or Virginia. I mean, you can see, right? So as I was going through them, this gentleman came up, Captain Samuel Woodson. He is all over the internet. So he has a very big following because he has a big military record, and he's been in a lot of the battles along the way. And for the life of me, I couldn't find him in my particular tree. Do you recognize Captain Samuel Hughes?
My great grandfather was Samuel Hughes Woodson, who migrated as a child from Albemarle County, Virginia to Kentucky.
But not this one.
No, I don't think he was ever in the service. His father was Tucker Woodson.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's saying here is Tucker Woodson.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
This again is not my tree, by the way. This is this other person. I just found them in a search.
Right.
And that's how they have this. So I will say this. This is what it says about
Samuel Hughes and Woodson. That's
Samuel Woodson, Revolutionary War.
I mean, he was a congressman for one term.
He was
in
born
Kentucky.
Mine was born in 1777. I don't know what you have.
This is 1760. So.
Okay, this is 1776 service, 1776 to 77. This is apparently I think their payroll.
Right.
They call it the War of the Revolution. I love that.
Yeah.
And this is the payroll for December of 76 and then April 77. And you can see on down into the dates that they were paying him, which I thought was pretty interesting. And this is Captain Samuel Woodson on this particular side. Okay.
This is 1760.
I think I had this same one, and this one had the next date on it.
Generations of Samuel.
Yeah, but he's not by his same parents. So.
It's interesting that there's so many matching names and fathers of the same that's not the same.
Yeah.
All right. So this is his tree. Let's see if we can pull it in the tree.
That's
See if I can put it in the tree.
Who's Sarah there?
Sarah Hughes, Tucker's wife, isn't it? Or Tucker One's wife?
Yeah.
Or Tucker One's wife.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
Sarah Hughes.
Okay, right.
That's where
Sarah Hughes.
Woodson.
Okay, Margaret Samuel Hughes Woodson is from Tucker too. From Tucker's son. That's
Okay.
what the difference. He's the one who went Kentucky.
Tucker 1, Tucker 2,
Right.
and that's Samuel Hughes
Right,
Woodson.
but
There was
this
Tucker 3.
Samuel Woodson's from Tucker 1, not from Tucker 2. So that's why the Tucker 2 Samuel Hughes Woodson's son, he became a congressman in Kentucky. He moved to Kentucky after Tucker was killed. His mother married a Crockett. And they moved to where is it? Jessamine County, Kentucky. But this is from the first Tucker. This is from the first older Tucker 1. is
From
what we
1720.
call
Who
it.
married Sarah Hughes.
Right.
Okay, so what they've got in their tree is the wrong Tucker Woodson as the father for Captain Samuel Hughes Woodson.
No, I think it's right.
It is right?
It's
Oh,
a different Samuel Hughes Woodson. The names got used again later on. It's like his nephew is named after him, I
oh
guess,
my God. Okay.
just to confuse things. But he was too young. The Margaret's Samuel Hughes Woodson is too young to be in the Revolution.
You're gonna have to put that in writing.
Yeah, they did that just to confuse their ancestors.
Well,
You know, us.
obviously, this is Margaret's Tucker 1 and 2, and your Tucker 1 and 2, two different Tuckers. So,
Yes,
you're
okay.
you're coming from a different Tucker earlier on. I mean, they all come from the sea captain, the Tucker that married Tucker, but
Okay, got it. Well, I thought I'd show this one too, because this is really fascinating when you go back in. They're uploading the Sons of the American Revolution membership applications in here as well. And this one just happens to be for Hughes as a descendant of Hughes. They're calling him Hughes Woodson. And you can go back in and look at these applications and see where they're connecting their dots. And anybody who wants to see these, I can download them. This is the Nebraska Society, by the way. And if you have any interest in and want any of these documents, I'd be happy to find them for you. But it really does help when you're trying to connect your own line and join the Sons of the American Revolution or one of these Jamestown Society. They upload the applications now, so you can see them.
the older ones. But
The older ones.
they stopped in 1970s. Nothing, anybody came in after that, it's not in there. But the DAR doesn't do that. You have to pay for the DAR applications.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll just keep moving here. So this is just another one that I saw on that was connected to that as well. This just kind of goes down the Woodson family line. And the John Woodson that was born in 1730 was the son of Josiah Woodson and Mary Royal, and I cannot find them in my tree either. And this John Woodson married Dorothea Randolph. And then these are the ones who are the children, and there might be intermarriages here somewhere that I haven't connected those dots yet. Then he inherited the father's plantation near Dover. And then he was very involved in politics. He was a sheriff. And then during the Revolutionary War, John served as a colonel in that as well. So that kind of came up for the Revolutionary War as well. All right. So one more. I've shown you that one. I've shown you that one. And then this one is interesting. This is Robert Woodson. This is under his heir at law, which I'm not sure why they would say it that way. This is from March 9th of 1795. And this is Tucker Woodson was the heir at law. And this is the report on Robert Woodson. And you can see that there are no papers. And they said that in the notation that there are no papers. Well, what do they do in the absence of a paper? This is for John Stephen Woodson, and they go through a questionnaire, and then they have gone back through and tried to make note of where the application was coming from, and then there's this handwritten note where John Stephen Woodson went before the magistrate, I guess, in Virginia, to attest to the fact that he was, I believe, disabled, and that he was eligible for discharge, and then that was the reason for the pension. So I just think it's fascinating that all of these records are now available to us, and these aren't transcribed, but the names are all picked out so that when you do a search, you can download this. So again, if anybody's interested, this was from 1833. So that was when they were going back and looking at things. And here's some more One of my favorites, though, is over here. Take a look at this one. This one is for Samuel Woodson, again, Captain Samuel Woodson. Look whose signature, literal signature, is on this document. Isn't that awesome?
Wow.
Got your John Hancock there. I mean, I'm like, is that a stamp? I'm like, no, they probably didn't have stamps back then. I'm like, that's literally John Hancock's autograph. So, and that was for, let's see, we're 1776. So March of 1776, you can barely see it. And that's for Samuel Woodson. If anybody wants this document, I'll be saving it to the tree once I can find a minute. But if you need it, then I can download it and find it for you. They scan all the sides of these documents, and I love it. And that's another one. All right, and then I've got Murray, and then we've done Azariah, and then we've got that one we've already done. And then this one was interesting for Valley Forge. There with George Washington and this Captain Samuel Woodson. Like I said, he shows up all over the internet. So if we can connect him in some way, that would be pretty cool as well. And then we've seen this one. And then I wanted to show you something else. I found another Anthony Woodson farm. This was in Munfordville in Kentucky. Thomas Woodson received his farm as a land grant from Thomas Jefferson for service in the Revolutionary War. And again, I could not find a Thomas Woodson. We've got lots of Thomas Woodsons, but I couldn't find a Kentucky connection. And I'm sure maybe some of you do. And I'd be happy to send you this link so you can look into it. But his son, Thomas Woodson, had a son, Anthony, who created the home. And this is what the home looks like. And isn't that pretty? So that's a part of their heritage for the Woodsons as well. Looks very similar to the Woodson one from our heritage. So it's just interesting to see who's gone through actually doing the homesteads and where did their land come from and who built the house and that type of thing. And that is all I have on Revolutionary War soldiers at this point. Any questions about those, or anybody want me to look anything up? Yay!
I have a quick little question. You know, I'm so much newer to this than you all are, but is it the consensus that pretty much all the Woodsons that you might, if I ran across a sign like that on a road trip, should I assume they are cousins from Jamestown, or were there multiple other Woodson families out there that are not connected?
That is a fine question for someone else to answer. Most of them they tend to be connected in some way. I mean, you've just seen just with our group, look how many different names we all have.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
You know?
I was just wondering. It's not a name I hear. I don't run across the last name Woodson very much. I live in Mississippi now, but I was just curious. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, you're absolutely right. It's something that if you do run into it, the good news is the internet is now so much more available. You know, back in the day, you'd have to go to the courthouse or whatever and look at the census information and all that kind of thing. But you can pretty quickly look someone up in that area and see if they're in your line, if you've got a line started in Ancestry, especially. If you run into somebody, I will volunteer this, and I do this all the time. If you have a name, email me and I will look it up for you in Ancestry. And if they happen to be, you know, there, then I'll download whatever I can, and then you'll have what I have access to.
Well, I grew up with the
the
idea that there was only the one
Steve.
Dr. John's family that immigrated to the United States. Whether there were immigrations after that, I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
there weren't that many on boats afterwards, because I know we've all done the research on that, you know, like in the following years.
and we know that there are Woodsons of color now, and how they ended up with the Woodson name. I know there's, you know, various stories on that. A lot of them associated with slavery, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Ball player Charles Woodson.
Yeah.
Mm. there's a lot of the wills and a lot of the documentation that has been uploaded into Ancestry. I personally uploaded Bible information because they used to log in their information into the Bible. And that was always a really good source of information before, you know, the census began. So there's a lot of that cool stuff out there as well. And if you guys have any additional information, let me know. We can always add it to our tree.
I don't know if y'all can hear me or not.
Okay.
I have found a paper. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I've just got a new computer, so I'm not used to it yet. I have found some information. My grandfather was John Woodson. And I found some papers that were in with his paperwork. And this is a Confederate abstract about Azariah. It says that he was wounded in September of 1862, captured in Woodson, Virginia, September 29th of 1862. Then he was also paroled the same time, or the same day. But then it says under remarks, it says discharged for disability at General Hospital in Columbia, South Carolina, April the 2nd, 1863. And it says he's listed as absent, wounded on muster roll of September and October of 1862. So I don't know if any of y'all have that. My grandfather evidently pulled this up. Looks like in June of 99 is when he pulled this up. But I didn't know if any of y'all had any. It tells about his private. He was in Company E and the Hampton Legion. So I didn't know if any of y'all had any of that.
That's great. I'd love for you to send the document too. I think that's great. I think the other thing too is that he was wounded in his hand, and when he got back to his home, his hand had almost been shot completely off. And
wow.
Yeah, I think Marvin Woodson Jr. wrote that in somewhere, and I ended up seeing that information and logging it in somewhere. I can't remember where I logged it in, but he still managed
does
to have.
anybody know if we can? Yeah, can we still? I know somebody about the Fadu plantation. Does anybody have information to be able to get in touch with new owners, that even if we can even go onto the property and even look at the property? I am planning, I'm hoping to go up that way next year. And I was wanting to go and see if I was somebody who could, you know, let me be able to go onto the property. I know the houses are probably not standing now, but just to be on the property, I think would be really kind of neat for me. I'm just now getting back into doing all my family history search, and love to be able to go first to see it. But I have
different
I've got so much stuff not even.
Marvin Jr. would be
Michelle,
the
Ken
main person to
Ken
contact.
and Margaret can answer that question.
Sorry.
But what was the question?
She was asking if she could go onto the Flowerdew property, or how would she go about doing that if she's going up that way? Is there a way to do that?
Good question. It's private property.
Privately owned.
It's privately owned, and a big sign saying,
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably, I don't know. I mean, unfortunately, they just had a new owner, and we're not even sure of their names. You know, whether they would let you on. There's no cemetery there, formal, which you could always go say, I'm going, you know, descendants will have to go to visit a cemetery, but.
Yeah. Does y'all might be able to tell this? I have a paper here also from the historical genealogy, is Woodson's and their connections compiled by Henry Morton Woodson of Memphis, Tennessee.
Right.
I published in
1950.
I am going to be in the process of trying to get it to page. It is online. The book is online. It's a PDF. And I have that, which I'm going to pass on the page. We may have to do it by Dropbox because I'm not sure our ISP has sort of changed things, is making it more difficult to send attachments, and it's a large attachment. So we may have to do it by Dropbox, but it has, I'm not sure I don't remember where I got it from, but there are the entire original 1915 book in PDF format.
I have my father's original 1915 copy.
Well, I think that's what this is supposed to be. Like I said, when I don't know if y'all know, but my grandmother passed away this past November was the year, Sue Woodson. And I went through a lot of her pictures, and in her pictures is the documents that evidently that my grandfather had tried to put together. And this, I just had a little bit of an excerpt from my book. So I was just kind of wondering what, if anybody had heard of it or knew anything about it.
He could go down.
I've got like 3 folders.
This is the Bible for the Woodson, but it says, but as I said before, they eliminated the entire Jesse James line.
I know. I keep trying to pull that, and been trying to figure that up too. So
this 1990 set is an update of the 1915. It's a 2-volume set that, as far as I know, you can't buy it. Ken's been searching for it for years. The son of the author. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. You don't want me to
actually, the 1950 Woodson book, I believe, has been reprinted, and it's available on eBay. It's not cheap. It's one of those reprints where it's every once in a while an original one comes up, but the reprint's available on eBay and probably through Amazon as well. But I will download or get the PDF to Paige, and she can then post it, and you can then look at it. Unfortunately, we don't have a PDF for the new update, but the new update doesn't include the Jesse James line, as far as I can tell.
Well, they really didn't want him, did they? Jesse James. They have y'all, this is my mom. This is John Woodson's daughter.
Hi there.
JW. Everybody called him JW. She's been going in and out because she has to take care of my dad. So she's having to be going in and out. But they were saying that Jesse James has been marked from everything to where you cannot find any history of him in with the family. Why would they do that?
The black sheep of the family.
Black sheep of the family. But look for the book. But look for the book, Descendants of a Bandit. Bandit.
3 times.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of books, but one of this Background of a Bandit, The Ancestry of Jesse James. That's on Amazon. You can buy it. Well, it's free on Kindle. Unlimited paperback, $16. And I think it has Jesse James's genealogy in there.
He was one of the good-looking guys. Looked like the
I actually have a picture of him, and he actually in the face looks like Azariah in the face in one of the pictures that I have of him that I found. So it's kind of, I wish I knew where that picture was. We just moved back from Texas, so everything's still packed up.
I think that his pictures are on Google. What is it called? Google Pictures or Google something.
Images, yeah.
Images.
So Sharon, did you want to give any updates on people who are no longer with us or people in additions.
Did you make a slide of it by chance that I emailed to you?
Oh, I didn't realize I was supposed to pull that up. Hold on.
Well, I didn't ask you to. I just did it.
I can.
I have it right here. I was just going to say.
Okay, no, I got it. Okay, I'm ready.
Looking at it. Yeah, since the last reunion, these are the individuals that I know about, and some of you may know of others who have passed. Alice Woodson Cannon. She was the daughter of Woodson and Mamie Deck Woodson. Ernest Frank Woodson, son of Johnny Frank Woodson and Gladys Melton Woodson. And then there were spouses of two Woodson. Alice's husband is the one who just passed away on a couple of days ago, and his funeral is this afternoon. That's why we're missing Roy Woodson Poor and probably Marvin Jr. and some of that family. And then Steve, who had to leave with Jacob, his son, to go to an Eagle Scout event. His dad just passed away a few days ago.
Oh boy. Okay.
A few weeks ago, they had the funeral already. Are there others that others know about of the Woodson lines that have died?
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
That we need to add to the list?
Do y'all have my grandmother's? And Clyde Woodson, my grandfather's brother, his wife passed away January last year, I believe.
Yeah.
January of 22.
That was Marie.
Her name was Mar Woodson. And my grandmother, she was Willie Sue Shiplet Woodson. And she passed away November the 13th of 21. I don't know if y'all have that date or not.
I'm pretty sure we mentioned her last reunion, but I don't know.
Okay. I wasn't sure because I didn't get to attend the last one.
Yeah, thank you. And Clyde, did you say Clyde? I don't think we had him.
Clyde passed away. I don't even remember what year when he. I can pull it up in a second. Clyde's been passed away a while. But Aunt Marie, let me see if I can get. Yeah. I have family search, so I'm trying to. Let me see if I can. I don't think I have Marie's down.
You can email it to me and we'll add it to the list when we.
Yeah, I can share it later.
January.
Yeah,
it's about 2.5 months after my mother died.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it was. Wasn't it about 2.5 months?
I don't remember.
Okay. Before we move to the family time, because I know some people may need to leave. We have gone over an hour. These reunions, thankfully, we have unlimited Zoom, so we can go on and talk for a while. Those who want to stay, but in terms of the quote official program and just visiting a little bit, we'll continue to do that. But before we go to that part, and Pat and Paige also may have some comments here. I know on the card that I sent out, the people who do not get email, unless they have someone that can help them with Zoom, and a lot of our older members are that way, our older people who come to the reunion. The card that I sent out, where's the camera here? The card that I sent out, the last paragraph, I said, once again, the reunion will be virtual only this year. We may be able to return to an in-person reunion gathering next year, as well as virtual. In other words, a hybrid meeting. What is your preference? Of the 78 that I mailed out, I've only heard from 2 folks, and one of them only one was commenting about the the types of meeting, and they were in favor of going back to in-person. That could be only as far as they're concerned because they don't do computers. Then there were a couple of others just in talking with family, not officially answering my question. Now, these are just to the postcard people that would like to go back to the in-person. Of course, COVID was the reason we stopped the in-person, and hopefully that won't ever happen again. But I would like a little bit of feedback and in terms of the ones of you who are here, at least, if you have any suggestions. That the problem with having it in person is if we can't find a fellowship hall like with a church where a person's a member and we can have it for free and then have potluck, so we don't have to promise a restaurant X number of people are going to be here and buy your food. You see the dilemma. We don't have a treasurer. There are no officers. We're all volunteers. And in terms of what is done, we would like to do it the way that most people would be able to come. The object is for us to get together. Pat, did you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I do have one thing. I'm looking at the faces that are here today, and I can see that there's no one face in this crowd from the same town. Everybody here is from a different place. So the big problem would be, where would we have this?
Come here to Virginia.
Yeah, you'd have to, it would be impossible for us to have a central place. Paige is in Florida, Margaret and Ken are in Williamsburg. I'm in Columbia. Our son is in North Carolina. I see some of the others of you who are, Betty, you're in Texas. See, we have a situation where it would be almost impossible for the people who are here today to all come to a reunion. So I'm seeing this, I would almost say we almost are going to have to continue with Zoom to be able to have any kind of a reunion at all.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Well, the hybrid meetings would be both. You know, you'd be in person, but there'd be Zoom there too. That's right. That's possible, right, Paige? You're our technician.
Yes, it could be absolutely possible. It's just a matter of who can do the in-person and who wants to, obviously, technically you could just do a screen and we could do presentations like we always do. And if I'm not there, I can do it remotely. I would prefer to be in person if we're going to have it in person. But I think, to Pat's point, we've got people all over the place and it's really hard to travel. But maybe we send out an email with asking, maybe like a survey or a poll, and say, if we did a hybrid, where would you prefer that we do it? And see if we have a consensus of, one place that everybody can gather, or an event or something that everybody could, kind of come to, that says, okay, we're going to go do this and explore this Woodson thing and make it more into an event or a discovery or something like that. But that takes planning as well. So
I have an idea. All of the Woodsons should join Jamestown Society and come to the meetings in Virginia.
That works.
I have a picture of our Woodson, who's governor, in case you want to see it.
There you go.
Okay, for the person who wants to
Can
visit,
you see that?
you got to go closer, dear.
Right.
There you go.
There we go. We can see it.
Isn't he good looking? And he's delightful. He's a Robert Woodson.
But he's going out of office in next year. Okay, for the person who's going to want to go to Flower Dew, I have the name and address of the people, and you can write to them. They'll probably let you in. It's Jeff and Ashley Oakley, Oakley, are the new owners. And the address is 1800 Flower Dew 100 Road, North Prince George County. I don't have the zip code.
She can look it up.
Yeah.
And that is that. What is Prince George, right?
Yeah, it's Prince George. That it's
South of the
it's
James
across
River.
from Charles City County. It used to be part of Charles City County, but they decided to break it off.
Yeah. I know in 06, when me and my grandparents went up for my graduation from college, we actually went down to the property, but they had already closed and was not going to open back up that week. So I was that close to it and I didn't get to go to it. But you were asking about Marie's death date, and I do have it. And this is a picture of her for those that aren't sure, but this is my Uncle Clyde Woodson's wife who just passed away. She was the last of all of our, I guess, immediate from let's see, Calvin Woodson was the father, my great grandfather. His father was Henry Woodson. So this is the last of all of them. And she, like I said, she passed away January the 31st of 2022. So
I'm gonna try to do the January.
that way we can, kind of keep up. And I try to keep up with dates on our end, and I'm actually trying to get my end of the family, to get me all of their names and dates. And we actually either today or tomorrow will have another, oh gosh, how is that going to be? Great grandchild for my grandfather. His great grandson's wife is in the hospital as we speak. They are trying to induce labor today, or try to help her to go in naturally. And then if she doesn't, then they're going to induce labor in the morning. So we're having another new Woodson, but he won't be named, he or she will not be named Woodson. But I'm not sure if y'all know Donna Woodson. She's a Wilson now. That's my aunt, mama's sister. That is her daughter's son's new wife. So they actually just got married. I'm sorry.
Where do you live, Michelle?
I live in Star. I live just outside of Anderson. I'm in Anderson County.
South Carolina?
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, South Carolina. Yeah.
Come visit.
Oh, I'm ready to come back to Williamsburg. I'm so ready.
We're 5 miles. We're 3 miles from Williamsburg, and 5 miles from Jamestown, where Woodson would have actually landed, because everybody had to land on Jamestown when
Well, I have actually been, right. I have actually been to the port. I guess it's the port where they came in. When we went up in 06, we went to that area. We went to where they have the, what is it called? The Jamestown settlement.
Yeah.
The old settlement. We actually went to it. I have pictures somewhere around here of all of that,
but
including replicas of the.
Tell her.
That's the state park.
Okay, no.
The actual island is down the street. The settlement's a state park,
Oh.
and the around the corner is the actual island where they all landed. There's another place for you to look.
Oh, okay.
Consider. It's called Henricus Park. It was in Chesterfield County now, which is where Dr. Woodson's, where the hospital, what's the name of it?
Malady or
Fort Malady or something was the name of the hospital where he supposedly served. They used to have a sign saying he served there, but it's been gone for 20 years now. But that's further than Chesterfield County, go for Route 10.
We'll take you there.
I was going to say that'd be wonderful.
I would
to have-
appreciate it. We will come up as soon as we can.
Wonderful.
I got to come up several years back, but I didn't get out and see a whole lot. We hit the hottest week of the summer, and it was just so hard to get out much. So I didn't see a whole lot. I was hoping to look up some family, but I never did get to. So I would love to go back.
Yeah, that would be a wonderful event to have, a Woodson Reunion on location. But in the meantime,
Oh,
that's
yes.
planning. So yeah, Paige, Pat, as holders of the email list, maybe a poll would be in order. Because basically all we know for next year is the when part. We have it the same time next year as we have it this year. That would be the last Sunday in July. How is Sunday working best for people, or should we go back to Saturdays? We used to do it on Saturdays. Any feedback on
It's
that?
better for me, but that's just me.
It's awful hot in the summer anywhere you go. If you want to do it in person, maybe you want to, I mean, we have a group that used to meet in June and now meets in September every year, which is a little cooler. So you might want to consider the fall or late spring. I don't think too many of you had children in school.
Well, that's other things to consider. So if you have any preferences, again, that needs to be really aired sooner than later, because it takes time to plan, and definitely an in-person reunion takes a lot more planning ahead. So with no other suggestions, we can move on then. Pat or Paige, did you have anything else there?
No.
Okay. Well, we'll see if there are anything else from the different family groups. Some have already spoken. Those of you may have seen on the chat that, again, Steve had to leave, but he does have that burning question that he's trying to answer, and it was in the chat box. I don't know if you all noticed it, but it's the mysterious Morning Mary. Her real name is Morning, like you're mourning someone, Mourning,
When he was
Louis Adams. And that's like just 3 generations from Dr. John. So that's way back near the beginning. It's her parents, her mother, Elizabeth Ferris Woodson, married William Joseph Lewis, and then Elizabeth's father was Robert from Dr. John's son. If any of you have any of that information, Stephen Wayne would like to fill in some pieces of the puzzle there. He's almost got the puzzle finished. If he can just document her somewhere. She's the one that was left out of the father's will. Some of you may have heard that right at the beginning of our gathering today.
I am going to share my screen. She just came up in my tree.
Oh yeah.
Morning Lewis, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Morning Mary Lewis Adams. She married an Adams.
She was married William Lewis and mother and father Elizabeth Woodson. Okay, that's where she comes in.
You have documentation for that? It needs the proof. That's what he's looking for, the proof of the connection.
Possible marriage records. Let's see. This is what I love about Ancestry. It comes up with it when you don't have to search for it. Yeah. You can help me review it together. How about that? Okay, this is the U.S. International Marriage Records. Morning Lewis married Robert Adams. And that's what he said in his note, right? And the marriage year was 1750. So I'm going to say save this information. And then it pulls up the different information for that tree. And it also adds the spouse. So I'm going to hit next. And it's going to save it to the tree. And then it automatically adds this source. So I'm going to go in and look at this again and see if there's any other, where is this source specifically? Sometimes they have a picture and most times they don't, when it's just this kind of records, marriage records. Mm-hmm. But Ancestry has a lot of just these records, and they're coming from a book and somebody's typed it in and transcribed it, and then they upload it into this information. So most of the time it's pretty spot on. Then you've got some suggested records over here. And oh, look, find a grave for Maureen Adams. Let's see. That's where she's buried.
Does it show her parents' name on it?
Maureen, children.
Mike again.
Let me just go in.
Which one?
Are you guys familiar with findagrave.com?
You knew all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've done a lot of taking pictures myself and transcribing myself as well along the way. Let's see.
Yeah.
The daughter of Colonel William and Elizabeth Ferris Woodson.
Yeah. I don't know.
Is that what he's looking for?
That may be acceptable. We'll need to tell Steve about that. Not want to take up any more of the group time here.
Okay, I'll send him this information, this link, and he can find this because I've got him in the email.
I think Stephen's point.
Find a grave is not an acceptable proof for Jamestown Society.
Yeah.
But it gives him a name, so
Yeah.
Yeah, it
He
gives
had
him a
the
name.
name, he just couldn't get the proof because
Yeah.
they're not listed in the will.
Ken won't tell you, but he worked with Steve for months.
Right, we looked at for
I
this.
turned him over to Ken because I'm
Ah,
doing other stuff. Anyway, he won't tell you, but he's been working with Steve.
okay.
On the Jamestown application, I thought from Stephen that he said if you can go to the the green adventures of person, that you're basically good to go at Jamestown. But what from his message, it looks like even though Morning's in here, that's not good enough.
Well, it doesn't go to her proof. I mean, I think he was going for her proof of her parents, and it doesn't. I think it might be in a footnote that it was there. It wasn't unapproved.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, if it was proved, and unfortunately,
Now,
the biggest chapter by way of that book is of the Adventures of Person, which is 3 volumes. The biggest chapter is Woodson, because 25 of the founder.
Too heavy for me.
This is volume 3. The 25 of the founding members were of First Families of Virginia, which is more snooty than Jamestown. It's up there with the Mayflower. Word Woodson descendants, but basically they were all in the belief of the Woodson book being the Bible, and they don't have the Jesse James line in either.
All right.
Unfortunately.
In this findagrave.com on here, it says this information was compiled from the 17th century colonial ancestors, volume 1, page 2. And then it shows Robert Adams and the date and Morning Lewis. So
maybe that is good, but I don't know. It just I didn't look at that page when we were reviewing it.
I'm sure Steve did.
when did she pass away?
I'm sorry, you were
When
cutting
did
up.
she passed away? My ears. Okay. When did she pass away? Was it before they had death records or death certificates?
1765. She was
Yeah, so that was
1694
before
to
death certificate.
1765. She was 70 years old.
Yeah.
In
Because they
Virginia.
didn't actually have to start death certificates until like 1914. So that's where I'm having a lot of my issues with doing some of my family history on my daddy's side of the family, is because we don't have death certificates for them.
Some counties in Virginia had death registers that are online through Family Search.
And Bibles.
And Bibles, but literally you went to the courthouse and they recorded deaths and marriages, and they had those, and they were basically told stop taking it because we're going to do death certificates, and they didn't do death certificates for 25 years after that. But they're like in the 1840s and 50s and 60s, there are death registers at the different counties.
Would it list her parents then
Maybe
on there, or just the
sometimes,
spouse
some days,
name?
some do, some don't.
And you've looked at all those, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for your help on that. Hopefully, as any of us do other research, if you happen to run across Morning Mary's birth certificate anywhere, let Steve know, or any information. I'd like to go on down and welcome one of our other newest people to the list, and I think he's also Robert Schlein, Brennan.
Hi.
Yes.
Brennan.
You snuck
Hi.
in on us earlier. Do you have any questions or comments? Are you Robert?
Oh, I have plenty to, I do. I have plenty of questions. And first I want to say thank you for inviting me into the group. I really appreciate it. And secondly, yeah, I have tons of questions on the Woodson line. I just got acquainted with Steve about a week ago. So this is all kind of very new for me and exciting. But Jeff Norval is on here as well. And where I'm putting together a big reunion for this fall on a different line that we both stem from also, where the Woodsons come together with the Gathright family. So I put together this big gathering. We're not calling it a reunion because most of the people are meeting each other for the first time ever. So it's a really big come together gathering. So I have some insight on maybe how to tie together the Woodsons and do something for next year. If anyone's interested in doing it in person, because I'm doing it myself with between 250 and 500 people coming from all over the country, meeting down in a common area, El Dorado, Arkansas, which is where a lot of the Gathrights were from. In our case here, we're looking at Virginia. It can be done a year out. I'm doing it and I'm having it for Thanksgiving, which everybody has off, a lot of people from work and their kids, if they do have kids or grandkids, are out of school. So it's an idea doing it around a holiday where people are off from work for the Woodson Reunion.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that sounds definitely like a model we might want to copy or even attend. Keep us in touch.
Yeah, I mean, you know, our situation's a little bit different with my family reunion gathering in Arkansas, because I'm dealing with quite a few families down there that are helping me, guide me, and so forth. And as we have the cousins up in near that area of Jamestown that are online here with us today, Margaret, we have connections in Virginia as well. We can maybe branch out our resources and kind of like find a venue or a location, an American Legion Hall or a church or something that can have us there. That would be an idea to start. But I've been doing this since last July for the reunion we're doing with the Gathright family. So I have a little bit of experience when it comes to the how to get in touch with maybe local officials in the particular area of interest where you might want to have your reunion. They can guide you further into passing it on to another person who may even be related to us through the Woodsons. I mean, you never know. And I've been stumbling upon this all year, just finding more and more people. And the more that find out about it, especially people from the Virginia Woodsons, they jump on it. Word spreads like wildfire. And before you know it, you have 300 attendees. So it's really wild and it's exciting, but it can be done and we're all interested. So we all can put our feelers out there and get involved, you know, directly and come together like we're doing here and bring it to the table.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else?
It's on the, we're on the mailing list.
While you got the floor there, we'll move on. Yeah.
And I think the Virginia thing sounds fantastic in my personal opinion. I mean, the people that I'm doing the reunion for, the Gathright side of our family, the other side that married into Woodson, they are from Virginia also, the Gathrights. They actually did come from up by the Richmond area. So, and there's an old house there that's a historical landmark. It's called the Garthright House. Technically, it's called Garthright. The name has changed to Gathright, but it was Garthright back then. So Virginia, being so historical, seems like the really perfect place to do that reunion. I would have done my Gathright reunion there, but so many of my living cousins are in the deep South, including North Carolina and Georgia, Arkansas, Louisiana, Alabama, and Texas, just to name a few. So Arkansas kind of felt like the right place for this gathering. But for the Woodsons, hey, Virginia sounds really nice.
It would be great. Yeah. Well, thanks again, and we'll certainly keep those ideas going there.
Anybody can feel free to reach out and contact me too if you want my phone number, email address, whatever you prefer.
It says we have it. I just asked
Well,
him.
we have your email. I think you're on the list, right?
Right.
Yes, I
Right.
am. Yeah, that's right.
We can get great speakers. I don't know about event space, but
Yeah. Hey, I mean, it takes time to look into. I mean, I started this this gathering reunion thing that I'm doing last July, the same week that we're in right now. It was last year that I started floating around the idea of doing something like this. Now, mind you, I'm little old me up here in New Jersey. I don't know anybody. I don't know Jeff Narvel. I don't know Steve Wang. I don't know you guys. The Gathright family I'm doing this whole reunion for, I don't know any of them. My dad's first cousins that are all down in Louisiana and Arkansas, I don't know them because my grandpa came up to New York and this is where we all, were raised. I'm going in literally blindly. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to find my way. And I did it. And I'm still doing it. But when you do it this far out in advance, you definitely have the ability to pull it all together with a nice tight thread.
I love your passion for doing that. That's great. I can't wait to see some of the pictures and all the stories that are going to come out of that as well. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Most of the people on this list, if it wasn't for great Grandpa Tucker, we wouldn't be.
What?
all of them.
Yeah,
Cole.
it's great to see younger folks, and I'm looking at
But you couldn't see it.
children, Alan and Allison McNeely now. Yeah, it seemed like we've got a nice assortment of ages today. Jacob's gone. Anyway, anything, Alan or Allison, you'd like to say? Ask
Not
about?
too much like Woodson related going on. The only anecdote I've got right now is that my daughter Era, who's 15, so our names, to get back to Woodson, you have to go through McNeely, which is our last name, up to Gant, and then up to Woodson over that. But she's already decided for her stage name, if she decides to use a different name, she's going with Woodson. So that might be something good for this crowd to know.
Oh, good.
That's awesome. Can't believe she's 15, Alan. Oh,
I know, right?
my
It's crazy.
God. How did that happen? Oh,
Yeah, there's some kind of book signing in our area. I think it's in Seneca, and it's an author. It seems like it's Jacqueline Woodson. I think it's the Woodsons of Color. I'm not sure. I believe I've seen some of her books, children's books, but.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't remember your daughter's name, Alan. What did you say? Which daughter was that, Alan?
I was talking about Era, but her given name is Jordan, but she's going with Era, E-R-A lately.
Okay. Oh, goodness, it's hard enough to remember the first one I learned now. I'll probably get the
That doesn't surprise me.
Jordan is still just fine too, but I'm in the habit now of saying Era, which is the one she kind of uses at school.
I love that.
Yeah, that happens sometime. Allison, you had any news flyers there?
I don't have any news, but I am kind of curious when we were talking about the possible reunion. Were the Woodsons more heavily populated in Virginia or South Carolina, like around, because I always thought it was around Greenville, but we're now seeing it's Virginia. So if we were to do a reunion and we were trying to get as close as we could to where the Woodsons really lived, then where would that be? Or is it just still all over the place?
Yeah, originally it'd be Virginia, but they went a number of different directions, I guess. Yeah, the Tucker that came to South Carolina was over, we call it the Greenville area, but really more toward Pelzer, Williamston, sort of out in the country, Anderson County some. But Greenville's the closest big town. And then I'll move on to Betty Holcomb. She's down in Texas. Betty's line comes from Tucker. I'm sorry, Murray. Well, Tucker had son Murray, and then Murray had Azariah and the next Tucker, which is our Tuckers, the ones that we've just been talking about in Greenville area. But Betty's line comes from Murray's half-sister, Tucker. Tucker one in South Carolina was married twice. So it was his half-sister Charlotte, right, Betty? Do I have it right? Uh-oh, Betty, you're muted. We can't hear you. Betty, we can't hear you.
She's trying. Oh, no, can't push the button. Oh, let me see if I can unmute you. Hold on.
It's on the lower left-hand corner on my computer, your little microphone with the line through it.
Ask to unmute. I don't know if that's coming up for you. I'm asking you to unmute.
Mute. All right. Can you hear me?
Yay. Gotcha. We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I had pushed the button there or whatever, but my daughter has a master's degree in computer software, but I'm in a wheelchair now. She's here with me, but leaves tomorrow. And she's the one that helps me with the computer. Yes, and I'm a member of the Jamestown Society. I've traced my line. I'm a DAR. I don't have much time to do that now because my husband's in a wheelchair. We cannot travel anymore. He'll be 91 in October. And but my family line is from Lottie Charlotte Woodson, who married, let me look here quickly, who married Reuben Johnson. And I'm not sure if she is the daughter of the second Murray, but I'm not sure which wife. I think it's Ann Stowe, and she died early and left 4 daughters. And then they all came to the Pelzer area. And as I say, she married Reuben Johnson.
Right.
And then her daughter, Elizabeth, married into the Kelly line. And their daughter married John Holliday. And then my grandmother was Minnie Holliday, who married Evans. And so I have the 12th generation. But I cannot go back. We went back last fall with my daughter's help, but we cannot go back to South Carolina anymore. I'm afraid. It's just too hard.
Well,
So this is the only way I can communicate then. I'm missing my Evans reunion next weekend, but it just can't be helped when you get to our age. And I'm very sorry about it. I'm very interested in genealogy, but that's kind of in the background now.
Mhm. Well, we're so glad you could be with us today, and thank the Lord for technology so
That's
that we can, as Pat said earlier, I think there's at least a half a dozen or more states represented here today. Yeah.
I was interested in all the different names there and how this one person who came here in 1619, how many people have descended from him and how many different lines. It's just amazing, and where they are all over. We, of course, have lived in Dallas for 55 years because we left South Carolina in 56 when we married. There was nothing to do much for college graduates. And my husband was an engineer, and we had to go where there was employment. I love South Carolina, and we'll be buried back there in the Clemson Central area
Yeah.
at Lawrence Chapel Methodist Church. And when I look back, all of my family on both sides was within a 10-mile radius of that. Daniel High School, Lawrence Chapel, Pleasant Hill. And we have two family cemeteries on my dad's side. He was a Morgan, I was a Morgan. They've been in Pickens County since about 1784, right after the Revolution.
Wow.
Yeah, it goes way back. Well, thanks so much for being with us this afternoon. I see two more people on the line, or actually, they're on the line. I see telephones for two people. Is one of them Larry Mitchell that wants to say something? And I don't know the other phone. I can't see any kind of ID there. I don't know if you know, Paige, or not.
One of them ends in 393. I just asked them to unmute if they'd like to. They don't have to.
Okay, yes, it's definitely volunteer. Well, I think everybody, have we seen everybody, or if I've overlooked anybody, please let me know.
Well, let me say something else. I have visited that Washington Baptist Church in Pelzer, and that's where Reuben Johnson was buried. And I guess Lottie as well. Some of those gravestones are no longer there. It was all scraped away. That's the third church that was built. And it has a very interesting history, but that was years ago. And I've forgotten a great deal. I have many, many books, but I don't have time to look at them anymore. It's great being with you.
So speaking of,
I went out to, I had went out to the Washington Baptist. Me and Grandpa went out years ago, and I actually have all of the Woodsons written down with what little bit of information was on their tombstones or their headstones. I have I have everything written down from Washington Baptist on the Woodsons that I could find, as far as, you know, like I said, what was on their headstones. If anybody has wanting to find out anything about any of them.
Michelle, do you know if those are, if all that was entered into the Woodson book, the Tucker Woodson book that Penny put together?
I have no idea. I don't have the book, so the only thing I have that Penny had done was the little paper, and I haven't been through this yet. This was in Grandma and Grandpa's stuff when they passed. This is the only thing that I have that has from Penny. I'm guessing this is Penny's. But yeah, this is all I have of all of that, and I have not been through it yet.
Yeah. Well, I live in Clemson.
But I do have
I live in Clemson, so
yeah, we've actually talked.
I've got copies, so if you ever want to get together, we can check that out.
Okay. Yeah, I actually, my boyfriend works at Denver Downs, so I get close to Clemson just about every day.
Okay, well, get in touch then.
Okay.
We can see if it's already in print. If not, that would be something else that Paige may not have all of it, but if it was in the book, I imagine she does. So. But you're welcome.
Okay.
To look at it. Yeah.
All right, I got your number. I'll call you one day or text you or something.
Okay. Anybody else have?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I do have a question. It's actually for Betty. Now, is your maiden name Morton?
Morgan.
Morgan with a G, or Morton with a T?
It's Morgan. Is she still with us?
I think she must have left, but it is Morgan, M-O-R-G-A.
Oh, it's Morgan. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, because I have an Ann Morton in my tree, who is the descendant of Thomas Morton and Elizabeth Woodson. And she's who married a Gathright. And I was just wondering how she tied in or what through, going back in her ancestry line. Yeah, so I'm very new at this Woodson side. I mean, I've had Woodson in my tree for a very long time, but just straight up the ancestry tree, nothing branching off, siblings, children of, and so forth. So with Stephen Wang, I've been slowly coming together, finding more, doing the ancestry and find a grave and going back and forth and finding more children. And I'm very behind, but I'm just grateful to be here today.
Well, good luck with your work. And if any of us can help you, let us know.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I would add to that the ancestry.com tree that I have and Penny Musgrove's tree. All you need to do is send me an email and I will send you a link and give you access to the tree. Okay. That way you can then go in and do any research you want. You can't make any changes on it, but you can actually copy. Sure. So that's very helpful. It's been helpful for me, going into other people's trees who've already done the work. So let me know if anybody wants the link and wants to take a look.
Okay, and you're in the email, right? So I can just find your email address there.
The email came from me, Paige Gant.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I don't have Samuel in my tree, Samuel Woodson. I don't have any of the Tuckers. So everything you were saying earlier, I was like, scratch. Don't have that yet.
Yeah, a little confusing. So if you figure it out, let me know. Okay.
Listen, it's the same thing with our Gathright tree because we had a Miles Gathright, a son Miles Gathright, a grandson Miles Gathright, then a James Miles Gathright, then it went back to Miles Gathright, and we're like, oh, and then grandchildren and nieces, the nephews. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
you get
it. I get it. Yep.
That's good. Okay. Anything else from anyone?
I'm sure I've got questions, but I'll gather them for another time.
Ping me or anybody on the team, anybody, email us anything you want. We'll be happy to help you out.
Yeah, we don't give out the email list per se, or sell it or anything.
Right. No.
If it's a piece of information that you're seeking, and some of our lists can help you, I would certainly consider that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, on behalf of Paige and Sharon, who are the ones who mainly put this together, I've been working with them too, but they're the ones who mainly do this. And I want to thank everybody for coming today. We hope that we will have a bigger crowd next year because we have some new people with us. Find some more links and more ancestors and more descendants. And so we appreciate everybody coming. It's great seeing everybody. And unless we have anything else to say, thank you for coming and we'll see you next year.
Yeah, it's great to see everybody.
Yeah,
have a good
All right, thanks.
Touch.
All right, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.